The child is usually at the effect of some side effects which may differ from child to child. So what happens in this children is that eventually for being active or being, they need some supports or aids such as walking aids, crutches, uh, standing frame, and finally wheelchair. So what we do is we can prolong the use of such aids by giving corticosteroids, steroids, and finally beta blockers, which helps in breathing difficulties, resolving the breathing difficulties. So the management depends on the age, stage-wise management, or we can say. So medically, what we can do is we can provide the patient with aids so that he is able to use less energy and technology, which helps the patient to be active for a longer period of time. Aids such as crutches, aids such as ankle splints, because when the distal muscles get weak, the patient is unable to hold himself on the ankle. Contractures sometimes start begin to form in a posture which enables the patient to stand in an erect posture. So splints, ankle splints are provided. Finally, a wheelchair is provided. So at this point of time, different doctors get involved, a physiotherapist gets involved, occupational therapist gets involved, a social worker gets involved, doctor gets involved, pediatrician gets involved. So a team has to be formed because we know that this child in some time later in life is going to have certain complications which are needed to be addressed by different medical professionals. So the very good form of preventing the child from major complications or providing him with the best support is a physiotherapist and an occupational therapist. So the job of a physiotherapist is to analyze the posture of the patient, analyze the biomechanics of the patient, educate him how to maximize the use of his energy into things that he does. We do not want him to waste his energy into something which won't yield results, such as we teach him simpler ways of getting up from the bed, we teach him simpler ways of transfers, we teach him how to use the wheelchair, how to be active on the wheelchair. So there are two types of wheelchairs which are present, that is the passive wheelchair which is being pushed by someone, and one is an active wheelchair. So with the active wheelchair, the patient can propel himself while on the wheelchair, and he can do his activities of daily living, moving around in the house, and even going out of the house, going to the park if the park is near, by propelling himself. These days, electric wheelchairs are also available. With just a push of a hand, you can move around easily. So it is a job of a physiotherapist to teach him the various wheelchair skills, to teach him the transfers from wheelchair to bed, bed to wheelchair, wheelchair to the toilet, toilet to again wheelchair, how to descend 2 or 3 stairs, how to ascend some stairs, how to ascend obstacles. So the job of the physiotherapist is to maximize the potency, that is maximum utilization of the resources. And resource in this disease is the energy and the capability of the patient. So what we try to do is, instead of using much of proximal muscles because they are the first to get weak, we make use of distal muscles, because the gait patterns of the patient also changes. He starts walking with the help of toes, with a wide base of support to maintain the balance. He has frequent falls. So in that case also, we teach the patient how to walk, how to get maximum support, and because we know that the patient is going to fall, we teach him the technique to fall also. Why it is important? Why do we teach the patient to fall? To reduce the risk of injury, that is to lessen. We know that the patient is going to fall, not today, not tomorrow, but we know that the weakness is happening, the muscles won't give him the strength to walk, and the patient is going to fall. So what we do is, we prepare for the worst, we teach him to how to fall so that he doesn't hurt his head, he doesn't hurt his back, he doesn't hurt his hips. So there is a particular way of rolling. How it helps? It helps in breaking down the momentum. So when a patient is walking and he feels like he's about to fall down, we ask the patient to fall uh, willingly and just to try to roll over. What it helps in breaking the momentum. What we do is usually when we try to go, we try to save ourselves, and in that case, the reflexes which we happen, that is the parachute reflex. If you've studied that if a child is about to fall, the arms widen. So we try to counter those reflexes or use those reflexes in a better way, so that we prevent major injuries such as a head injury or a hip injury. Because further injury will only lead to further deterioration of the condition of the patient, which will not help the case. So the medical management is in the initial age 1 to 3. The case is diagnosed. We know that the patient has DMD. We start working on educating the parents, because the child is very small. We cannot educate him with everything, but we teach the parent normal basic movement that should be present and certain strengthening of the muscles, because we know that they are going to be helpful in case we are going to give him some walking aids. For walking aids, he has to have some strength to walk. Ultimately, if he doesn't have the strength, then the patient directly goes to the wheelchair. From the age of around 5 to 8 years of age, when we know that the patient is much weak, walking support is very much needed. So we teach him how to walk with the aids, how to walk with crutches, how to walk with walkers, how to stand on the walking stand, walking frame, how to transfer weight on the legs while walking, how to transfer weight when he's standing. Equal weight should be distributed on both the feet. How to be on a wheelchair, how to propel the wheelchair, and positioning is very much important, because only this positioning, if we teach a good positioning patterns of sitting, lying down, walking, various complications such as scoliosis, because a patient who is on a wheelchair for a longer time, who sits on a bed for a longer time, the posture isn't maintained, and slowly scoliosis starts to develop. That is, the spine will curve on one side. Now, what will be the complication of this? The lungs will be impacted. Finally, we want to prevent that the lungs should function, because they are the major organs. Because if we won't breathe, we won't be able to survive. If addition to the weakness of the muscles, if we give him scoliosis, the lungs will be affected early. If the lungs are affected early, he will get the symptoms as soon as possible. So we want to avoid any postural deformities. We want to avoid development of contractures. So positioning is taught. How to sleep, how to keep the legs. We educate the parent as well, or if there is an attendant, we educate the attendant, so that they are able to help the patient if he is unable to see, or if he is unable to do things, we educate them as well. So with this positioning, we avoid a lot of complications that we are going to face later in life. After the age of 8, from 9 to 11 years of age, we know that the patient at this point of time is very weak. He cannot walk. He's bed bound. He's wheelchair bound, and slowly his respiratory muscles are also started to get affected. That he is unable to breathe. He is unable to cough out. Slowly infections get in. Infections such as chest complications, chest infections get in, because the immunity gets down, he is not moving, the body isn't moving, so the immunity is very low. Once he is affected with something, some infection comes in, that infection stays and get transformed from something to else. Now, because another major thing which happens is, because the patient sits most of the time or lies most of the time, pressure sores starts developing, which is a very bad thing for the patient, because this pressure sore actually will also lead to infections, because they will be exposed to the environment. Now we know that a lot of bacteria and viruses are in the environment, especially if we talk about today as in the COVID era. A lot of infections in the air. So if we are exposed to the air, that means that we are giving a free invitation for the bacteria to come in, reside in us, and to give us infections. So a lot of infections come in. The major thing that we are worried about is a chest complication, because once he has a chest infection, he will be unable to cup himself, or the sputum which he has, which will decrease the lung capacity. So we have to teach the patient huffing and coughing. We do the chest physiotherapy. So we, at the age of 11, he is quite weak, and he is unable to breathe properly also. Oxygen support is needed sometimes. Sometimes if the patient survives after 13 years of age, uh, and if he is totally bed bound, respiration may severely affect, and finally he may be put into ventilation if the respiratory function has been decreased. So that is a very fatal stage, because once he is put on an oxygen support or a ventilator, the body literally gives in. I mean, after he is put into the ventilator, there may not be much time left for him. Depends on how much the body wants to fight, but there is little or no way that he gets out of that and he gets well. So depending on the stages, the physiotherapy management is there. So we'll discuss the physiotherapy management. So depending on the stage, as I just told you, starting from the initial stage, education of the patient and the parent is very necessary, because if we will not educate, they will not know that what is going to come. So it is always better to prepare for what is going to come rather than to face it when it comes, because when you are prepared, when you know that this thing is going to happen, that way you are able to face it or deal with it in a very organized and a much better way than if it comes all of a sudden. So educating the patient, educating the parent, we don't want to keep them in any loop that your child is going to improve, he will be fine, he will be walking, he will be running. We have to tell them the truth, and because they should also know, so that they work hand in hand with us. So the parent is told that certain stages are going to happen from this year to this year, this year to this year, such things are going to happen. So at every stage we have to change our intervention, we have to be prepared, we have to deal things accordingly what happens. So we have to teach the patient, and if the patient is able to understand things, we teach the patient also, because ultimately he is the one who has to do the things, and he is the one who has to undergo everything. So mentally he should be prepared, so that he prepares himself, and he should be physically and not physically strong, but he should be mentally strong to face it and to deal with it. That is very necessary. Counseling has a very big role to play whenever it comes to any diseases such as DMD, because finally it disables you and ultimately leads to the death. So counseling plays a very major role, and counseling should happen in every stage. Every now and then it should happen, because the child needs your support. He should know, he should not be pessimist, he should not feel negative. Whatever life he has, he should try to live with the fullest of the life. So we should act as a counselors as well. And whenever we are working with the patient, the role of a therapist also to talk with the patient and to build a rapport, to increase his confidence, to boost his confidence, to make him positive, so that he feels positive about whatever he has, whoever he is. He should feel good and live his life in a good manner, instead of being sad. Okay, today again I have to do exercise. I know that I'm not going to live for long. I know that I'm going to be on a wheelchair. No. So what? If he's going to be a wheelchair, he can still read. He can still watch TV. These days he can be still on a mobile. So these are the generations in which small children also, they are being very innovative, and they do crazy things which even adult people cannot. So we should boost him that whatever complications you have, whatever difficulty you are going to face in future, you should do it with a good heart. You should be positive about it. Okay, you might be on a wheelchair, but okay, you can propel yourself. You can be in an active wheelchair for some time. After that, if you are weak, if you cannot be on an active wheelchair, you can be on an electric wheelchair. You can propel yourself. You can live your life that way. So we have to make him positive. So stage wise we have to move on. Early stages we have to go with a regular range of motion exercises. We have to strengthen his proximal muscles. We just have to prevent any kind of deformity. We have to maintain the range of motion. We have to go with stretching. Stretching and range of motion is a very important thing, because passively we have to ensure that the joint doesn't give in. That is, there are no kind of shortening in the muscles happening. There is no atrophy happening in this. What happens is, because the child is unable to use the muscles, slowly dystrophy happens, disuse dystrophy happens, wasting of muscles happens, which further deteriorates the case. So we have to prevent that thing. So we start with range of motion exercises, we start with stretching. Moving on, when we know that the patient needs support, so we go for strengthening so that he is able to use the crutches, he is able to use the walker. Then we teach him wheelchair skills so that he is able to propel himself in case of active wheelchair. In case of passive wheelchair also we tell him how to sit, how to position himself to sit straight with the trunk straight. In case like he's slouching and is unable to do it, we tell him how to place the pillows so that if he place a pillow sideways and he gets a support, so he is unable to lean. If he is leaning, we put a pillow so that he sits comfortably. So we can put a pillow on both the sides so that the trunk doesn't lean on either ways and is in a straight line. So when the trunk is straight, when the positioning is straight, we prevent any kind of muscle shortening. Mat exercises, passively we do exercises to the patient because we know that prolonged sitting can lead to pressure sores. We ask the patient to change the position every now and then. Recommended is every 2 hours he should change his position. Even if he is lying, after every 2 hours he should take a turn and be on the other side. Then moving on, we should teach him breathing exercises because ultimately we know that the lung is going to be compromised. We teach him huffing and coughing. So whatever energy is left into him, we ask him to utilize that kind of energy to utilize the maximum function. We use, moving ahead into the stages, we use chest vibrators to dislodge any kind of secretions which are present. Simultaneously, medical treatment is also available for symptomatic relief in case that he is infected with any kind of respiratory disorders. So medically also we can treat him by giving him antibiotics. Steroids is a regular thing which goes on for the patients of DMD because that may increase the power for some time. Then moving on, contractures is a very big thing. So to preventing that, we use various kind of orthoses, splints, ankle knee orthosis is usually used, ankle splints are used, trunk supporters are used in case of scoliosis. Certain surgeries are also recommended. Suppose that the physiotherapy intervention has been started late and the contractures have been developed. So surgical procedures are needed to lengthen the tendon so that the ankle can be in a neutral position and the patient can be made to stand on a standing frame or can walk through a walker. So these are the things that a physiotherapist should do that because it is a progressive disease. We have already studied that it is a progressive disease. Now going back again in time, let's revise that what we do. We read about Duchenne muscle dystrophy. It is a muscular dystrophy which is a genetic disorder happened because one of the proteins in the body gets affected which is responsible for making the muscle cell strong. The calcium basically it is related with the calcium content of the cell. That is absent because of which the water comes in, the cell gets destroyed. It is a muscle cell. So as the muscle cell gets destroyed, the muscles get weak. What are the muscles that are getting weak? The proximal muscles are getting weak. It starts with the proximal muscles. It moves on to the distal muscles. It is an X-linked. That means it usually happens in the male generation. It is present at the time of birth, but is not diagnosed until the child has turned 1 year or 2 years or 3 years of age because there may be delayed in the development of the child. There may be speech delayed speech may be present. Intelligence may also be affected. Brain may also be affected, which forces us to get the child tested. How do we test it? Gower sign is a very big sign which tells us the patient has a DMD. What is Gower sign? It's climbing up with the help of hands. That is, whenever a child is asked to stand up, he uses his hands to lock himself, to lock his knees and get up. That is a classic sign that the patient has a DMD. Further, to confirm the diagnosis, we go with blood analysis. What we analyze is a protein called kinase. If the quantity of kinase is increased in the blood, that means that the patient has DMD. But still, it isn't confirmed that it is only DMD which is increasing the protein kinase. So furthermore, we go on and we do biopsy. In biopsy, we check the cell status. That tells us that yes, the cells aren't working well, they're getting destroyed, there's a lot of water in the cell, the calcium is absent, which tells us yes, okay. Now we rule out everything, differential diagnosis we do, and we move the patient as DMD. Now, moving on to the management. Sadly, there is no cure for DMD, only symptomatic relief is there. We cannot remove the underlying cause. What we can do is prolong the dependency of the patient, because finally the patient is going to become dependent. So for that, corticosteroids are used, steroids are used, which help the patient to regain control of their muscles and to be strong for a certain amount of time. Delay their use of walking aids, delay the use of being on the wheelchair, but they may also have certain side effects which have to be dealt with. Along with this, they may also have certain kind of pain, certain kind of infections, which has to be dealt symptomatically as and when whatever develops. Talking about the physiotherapy management of the patient, physiotherapy management is very necessary for the patient, because it may help the patient to delay the dependence, to be independent as long as possible for the patient. We start with counseling the parent, we start with counseling the patient, we teach them, we teach them the various stages that at what stage what is going to happen, and what will be our plan of action, what will be our short goals, what will be our longer goals, how we are going to tackle about the problems that are going to come upon. We start with general mobility exercises, that is we want to ensure that every joint is working as and how it is supposed to work. We go with stretching, we go with passive range of motions, we go with certain strengthening of the muscles, because the patient ultimately will be needing walking aids. We move on with teaching the patient how to use walking aids, we teach him how to use wheelchair, we ask him to be on an active wheelchair so that he can be independent as long as possible. Because we know that finally the lungs are also going to get affected, we teach him various lung exercises, breathing exercises, huffing and coughing techniques. We do chest physiotherapy on the patient in case of any secretions getting, because he is sometime going to be on a bed for a longer durations of time, or on a wheelchair for a longer durations of time. There is a possibility of having pressure sores. So our main motive will be positioning. Positioning is a very necessary step that we have to do. So we teach the patient's attendant also positioning. We teach the patient also that how to position when you're lying, how to position when you're sitting, how to position yourself when you're standing, how to position when you're walking, how to position when you're sitting on a wheelchair. Because that is going to prevent the secondary complications such as contracture developing, pressure sores, and lung infections. So this is the role of physiotherapist, and ultimately, very sadly, unfortunately, the patient may not be alive till the age of 14 or 15, and will pass away. So this was a brief about DMD. Talking about the questions which may come into the exams, DMD. So the basic will be what is a muscular dystrophy, and why is it called Duchenne muscular dystrophy? It is called Duchenne because there was a scientist called Duchenne who basically separated the protein which was getting affected, so it was named after him. So in a MCQ, this may be asked which protein is affected, this may be asked, and in the blood test which protein is detected in case of DMD. So this can come in MCQ in any government exams. And in the major question for a longer answer question, physiotherapy management of DMD may be asked, which is a very necessary part, because ultimately physiotherapy is an important part of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So you have to explain it stage wise. So as I told you, the first stage is 1 to 3 years of age, then 5 to 8 years of age, then 9 to 11 years of age, and then further. So at every stage you have to explain the role of physiotherapist and what we have to give or what should be given to the patient. So that is how it is going to be answered. So this was just about DMD. I hope the session is clear. In case of any issue, you are welcome to ask me for any doubts. In the next class, we will start the session with doubt clearing sessions, and then we will move ahead with another topic. That will be another pediatric condition. This was it from me. Thank you so much. From Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, I am Dr. Anchal.